Hello, everyone. I am Stephanie Butler Adams, the CAHPERD Dance Council Chair, and once again, we are having a dance chat. Now, you know, we're getting ready for our big annual conference in February, just a few weeks from now, in Garden Grove, California. And the theme this year is everybody moves. Everybody moves. So if you have a body, you can move it, okay? So we're really excited about these dance chats because we're learning more about best practices, tips for dancers, dance instructors, dance teachers, dance educators. And I'm really honored to have one of our presenters and CAHPERD members with me today. This is Cathrine Himberg. Cathrine, welcome. So great to meet you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm excited that you're doing this.
Yes, it's much needed. It really is needed. Sometimes you just want to have a quick talk, you know? All of us are in the trenches every day, day to day, different things that we go through. And you don't really sometimes have time to just decompress and say, whew, you know? But this is a special one because I want you to tell those who are watching a little bit about your background. Now, Cathrine has a dual background here. You know, we've talked with a lot of dancers in dance chats so far, but Cathrine, tell us a little bit about your background and where you are with your teaching today.
Sure. As far as dance goes, I grew up in Norway, and I started ballroom dancing at 4. I quit at 5, and then I did all kinds of other dance and gymnastics all through my childhood. So I've always been a hobby dancer, even through college. I was never good enough to be on crazy teams or anything like that, but I've always loved it. Dance has always been part of my life, always. And I was lucky enough to learn to teach it through my teacher education degrees. I ended up teaching jazz dance at Virginia Tech when I was getting my PhD. I have taught aerobic dance forever. My favorite activity to do in the world is step aerobics. I've done that for over 30 years. It's still my favorite cardio. I absolutely love every form of dance that I've done, and ballroom is closest to my heart. I've been teaching that now for 20 years at Chico State and have absolutely loved it. So I have a passion for dance, and in a different way maybe than someone who's a professional dancer. Even though I make money teaching dance, I wouldn't consider myself a professional dancer. I joke with my students that it takes me a long time to memorize a sequence. I look at other dancers who can just go boo, 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 boo. So I go to hip hop workshop and I'm lost after 2 8 counts. I don't have that kind of memory, but when I do learn something, I look good on the floor. So I have hopes for any dancer who has that little person inside them, and that's who my students are. Most of my students now that I teach are either beginning dancers who get to teach ballroom dance, take a ballroom dance class, or they are future teachers. So that is my job. Number one is to educate future teachers. I teach 2 of the courses in the PhD major currently. I've taught almost every course in that major over my career of almost 30 years at Chico State. So I have thousands of teachers in California who went through our program, and many of them, the ones who graduated in the last 20 years, learned how to dance and how to teach dance from me.
Wow, that's amazing. What a rich history you have. Like, really, I love all the different aspects with the ballroom and everything. And since you've been in this for so long, tell us some of the things. Like, I know this could be a whole dissertation, but what have you seen from back when you first started teaching that has changed in the classroom to today?
I think the main thing I've seen is that more of my students want to learn how to dance. And than before it was more like most PhD students were the old football, baseball, soccer, volleyball players who came in and wanted to become coaches and teachers and had zero interest in dance. Now they have, for years, over the last, I would say 10, 15 years, they have seen shows like Dancing with the Stars. They have played games like anime or the one where the kids are doing the moves. I can't remember what that one's called, but they've seen. Yeah, or TikTok lately, like in the latest few years. But they've seen kids do the floss. They want to learn it too. They're doing those kinds of moves on their own with kids in their after school programs that they teach or help out with. And then they come to my class and they're nervous about it. But the best thing I see is that more of them want to learn and feel really good about learning. Whereas earlier, it took maybe a little bit longer to convince them that this is worth learning. This is going to be fun for you. You're going to get joy out of it. Yeah. The other thing we've seen is the theory that kind of underscores everything we do. That's been developed or researched quite a bit in the last 10, 15 years. So now you have books like The Joy of Movement by Kelly McGonigal, who outlines the benefits of synchronized movement, moving to music. And it is all the psychological benefits, racing endorphins and endocannabinoids in the brain, people feeling more joyful and hopeful and connected through dance. So it's easier for me now to sell dance also through social and emotional learning to my students. And I have to sell it or they will not teach it when they go out.
Absolutely. It is definitely a sales pitch in that classroom sometime. It's definitely because you're trying to capture them and keep them. One of the things I always say is, you want to cultivate a love for dance and the arts, but really a love. And that's great to hear that your students want to learn, Something that you were saying triggered me. Now you have a kinesiology background, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. That was one of my favorite classes in undergrad. And I wonder, how does your kinesiology background inform your teaching? What kind of approach do you use when you have that knowledge? Because not all dancers really have that. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So kinesiology is such a broad term, right? It just basically means the science and of movement. And within that, you have biomechanics that in the olden days was called kinesiology, which is more the specifics of how the body moves in space and the details of the anatomy of it. Then you have exercise physiology that brings out the physiology of it. I try to mix everything I can from the sciences into what I teach my future dance or future PE teachers who will be also teaching by our standards dance K through 12. And I try to connect it to things that they're already interested in. So, for example, many of my students are team sports players. When they learn that dance can enhance the cohesion of a team through the physiological changes in the brain from physical movement and synchrony, then I might have them come on board because they're going to coach that volleyball team or that soccer team or that football team. And they want to do everything they can to boost their team's hope for winning. Now, that's where I get them, I think, more than this is good for every kid in your classroom in the beginning. Then that's later. The other thing I try to tie it to is, so for decades, coaches at levels, college and pro, have had their athletes participate in dance for the reason that it improves coordination and reaction time. And when you bring in those aspects, and I get feedback from them like, taking your dance class had me increase 3 inches on my high jump because I finally got that approach right with my feet going in the right positions. So there's an endless amount of information from the field of kinesiology and in the sciences of that I infuse. And of course, all of the logical, now that we know how incredibly good complex movement is for the brain, if it's complex, rigorous. So that too, as I'm aging, I put in all that information about I'm doing synchronized and highly coordinated movement, complex, because I don't want to get Alzheimer's. So I don't want to cut you off.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's where my train of thought was going, because there's so many studies now that say that dance is so good for those who have Alzheimer's, dementia. And I do a senior program in Long Beach. And of course, a huge part of that program is movement and dance. And you talked about the synchronicity and how your brain has to work. And I mean, I love it. And I think that one of the things, if you're watching, if you are a physical education instructor, or you're a dancer, or you're just someone who works with children, use all of what we're talking about in the creative process, because a thinking mind is a healthy mind, you know? And I love that you shared that, you know. Thank you so much, Katrina. So now I need to ask you this. How, with all your vast experience, how did you find CAHPERD, or did CAHPERD find you?
So I have been a CAHPERD member since 1996. I have presented over the years, and we have a close relationship. There's Marcy Pope, who runs the conference this year, is running for president next year. Tony Moore was my former student. I mean, I'm embedded in CAHPERD, but I also run a nonprofit on the side, and a lot of my extra time goes to that. So I've held office in CAHPERD before, a long time ago. I've been involved over the years, but when I apply to present, I usually get accepted. So I think there is an experience there with
absolutely
past, yeah.
That's fantastic. And again, one of my goals as the chair for the Dance Council is building awareness of CAHPERD in areas and regions throughout the state of California who may not have ever heard that there is such a thing. And so this conversation is going to do, I think, take us leaps and bounds into as far as building the Dance Council up and bringing folks back in. I know, CAHPERD has gone through a lot of changes, and especially post-COVID. So now that everybody is ready to get back in there and get in there and mix it up and move together, this is perfect. So I'm really looking forward to February. So tell us about the class that you're going to teach at CAHPERD's conference. And by the way, everybody, the conference is February 1st through the 3rd. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency in Orange County in Garden Grove, California. You can still register. You can register on site. I think early registration has closed, but you can register on site. And you can go to www.CAHPERD, that's CAHPERD.org, to learn more about all the great things that you're going to experience there and become a member. Hello. Okay. But tell us about your class. What are we going to expect in your class at the conference?
Actually, as a segue, I think dancers who have not been aware of this organization might like to know that you would get different things from our organization than maybe others. This is focused a lot on pedagogy. So my dance session is a pedagogy-focused session, which means that I am teaching as much the how to teach it as I am teaching the dances themselves. But my session is where I'm going to be helped, by the way, by my students from Chico State. So all the students who are coming down, they know they have a job to come and help me demo and help me teach. So what we're doing is social and emotional learning mixed in with the dance or dances. I'm doing two different mixers. So the first one is if you teach especially non-dancers, right? Kids in schools who want to participate. And this dance I choreographed to the song Black Horse and the Cherry Tree by KT Tunstall. And it's a mixer where after reading the book, The Joy of Movement by Kelly McGonigal, I created this dance to kind of signify some of the movements of joy. So it has some joyful, big movements, some circle, and some good old-fashioned square dancing moves like a grand is in there. And then I teach it with a jigsaw style learning, because there are 4 different parts that the participant will create before we actually do the dance. So it's a creative dance / one I have created that we will do as a mixer. People will dance with different people, and it's folk and square dance-ish inspired, but modern song, and super, super fun. So it's my students' favorite right now.
It sounds like a blast. It sounds like a good time. So, okay, listen, everybody go to CAHPERD.org, pull up the schedule. It's already there. And find Katrina Himberg. And when you see her class, you hustle yourself on over there, okay? Katrina, when you're in the classroom, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just want to add that the second mixer I'm doing, assuming because I got another hour, so I'm adding on a bachata mixer. Bachata is a partner dance in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show how easy it can be to create a mixer from very simple moves in bachata or merengue, which we'll just kind of bounce into to show that. So there'll be two different ones focused on social and emotional learning, building confidence, assertiveness, self-awareness, all of this stuff.
I love it. I love it. I love it all. I want you to, in our last few minutes, okay, we've been talking about how you teach in your classroom, how you approach your students, what are some of the things that you use. I want you to give all of us dance educators, if you were going to do 3 things, your top 3 tips for teaching in a classroom full of various levels. Okay, you don't know if they have technique, they don't, some, all of the things, right? What would you say your top 3 tips for us would be?
I'm going to start with the first one, which is a don't. Do not spotlight students. That old-fashioned across the floor that works for high-end dancers who have danced their whole lives, which in college, I took those classes one by one. We went across the floor and the teacher would critique. No, that is so awkward for the average student who isn't a dancer. Don't do that. So that would be my first thing. Secondly, that goes along with that is allow for a lot of practice and reward effort. So reward students who are working hard. Don't look for perfection. Perfection is not necessary to reap the benefits of dance. And the third thing I would say, find out what the students are already interested in and tie your dance lessons somehow to that. So I have a lot of students from who love Latin music. So I teach merengue, bachata, salsa. Those are the ones I focus on for the future teachers so that they can go out to the schools to teach stuff that kids are already kind of a little bit interested in. So
I love it.
That would be my top 3 tips.
Fantastic. And I hear you with the don't spotlight, don't highlight folks, and we are so used to studio dance and rehearsal and just general taking class. But we, as you say, for the non-dancer, for just the average student, it can be a little off-putting. I love how you put that. So that is a tip for us if you're listening. All right. Read the room.
Yes. No, when you have
Read the room. Read the room.
Yep.
Yes. Well, listen, again, CAHPERD Conference 2024, February 1st through the 3rd at the Garden Grove Hyatt Regency in Orange County, under the theme, Everybody Moves. Everybody moves. And that's what we really hope will happen in just a few weeks. So, Katrina, how do we find you? Are you on social media? Do you want to do a shout out of how we can follow you and all the great work that you're doing?
I actually am hesitating. I'm probably this year going to have to cave in and do some kind of social media personally.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
But as of right now, my website is actually quite a good tool for both dance teachers and any other teachers. And it's called supportrealteachers.org. So you can find a ton of helpful information in every category of pedagogy, especially. So for any dance teachers who kind of started wondering, well, maybe I need to look at how I do things, our website will tell you not only why, but have the research to back it up. There are some good studies that show that people have nightmares about what teachers have done to them in the past.
Oh, I love it. Supportteachers.org.
Realteachers.org.
Supportrealteachers.org. Powerful. I love it. I love it. So you all make sure and check her website out. And even more so, come to her class. Okay, come to the class. Cathrine, thank you so much for chatting with us. It's been wonderful. I feel like I've been very enlightened and informed. And if I can only take this few minutes of what you shared with me, just imagine what the folks are going to get in your class. So shout out to you for all the work you're doing with your students at Chico State. And we will see you in just a few weeks, all right?
Thank you so much. I really
Thanks
appreciate it.
for watching. Thanks for watching, everyone. And thank you for your time. We will see you soon. Bye, everybody.